the back? Okay, audible there? Fantastic. Okay, so thank you, Amol. Thank you, ET CFO, for inviting me here today. So when Amol spoke with me a few weeks ago and said, can you come and do this? I said, gladly. Basically because in all my tenure as CEO in this country and abroad, one of the people I've always relied on is my CFO. And that's why I want to thank all the CFOs who worked with me. And this is, in a way, a tribute to their hard work and everything that they have done. Okay? That's why I'm here. So, the topic I've been given is the future CFO. And I want to give you my perspective of it, looking at various angles of what's really happening out there in the world. And I'll give you data from the UK, from America, and India, and then you judge for yourself. Okay? So, first up is the terrific CFOs that I have worked with. Okay, these are a sample of them. And I want to pick a few qualities. In the first row, I have Petra Terasoha, who was my CFO in Nokia. Then there's Nikhil Madgaonkar. One trait they had, they challenged me. So a good CFO challenges his CEO in a positive manner. Remember that, challenge, very important. In the second column I have, people I have a lot of regard for, a lot of respect for, is a bunch of people who are very quiet but very efficient. So that's the second bunch of people you get as CFOs. CFOs are not the flamboyant types. They're not the CMO types. They're not the other types. They are very down-to-earth, basic, very efficient, very good. That's the second quality which actually shines through for CFOs. That's the second. There's Ansi, there's Sushil Agarwal, there's Rajesh Kedia. And the third bunch of CFOs, and this I'm taking their outlying strength, big enablers. Enablers of business. Not people who say no, but enablers of business. Okay? So, again I repeat. One, challenge the CFO, quiet and efficient, enable the business. So much so that Murli, who used to be the CFO of the foods business in Unilever, when I used to be the chief marketing officer, would always tell me, he would say, Shiv, business is like cricket. You stay at the crease, runs will come. He would tell me, you get the volume, you get the revenue, you leave the profit to me. You don't worry about it. Okay, but focus on that. Okay, so you score the runs, the results will come. So I learned a lot from each and every one of them. I've also had the pleasure of working with some very tough CFOs. Okay, and one of the toughest that I worked with is a chap called Andy Ford, who used to be our CFO for the geographies in Nokia, Helsinki. Short man, 5'3". Every time I'd walk into his office in Helsinki, I'll open the door. He'll look at me and say, Shiv, whatever the question, the answer is no. So, very tough guy, but great fun working with him. Really tough. He would not, every single detail, he would be absolutely thorough in the way he would look at the business case, the business proposal. And if you got through Andy first time with the business case, then you've done a fabulous job. Okay. So these are CFOs of what I have seen over the last 20 years that I've been a CEO. But I want to look forward. What is the type of CFO I see in the future? These are the type of CFOs I see in the future. All of them are chartered accountants. Most of them, 8 out of 9 are chartered accountants. But here's the interesting thing. A few of them have already done an MBA. And a few of them want to do an MBA. Interesting. In the past, that gang I showed you was purely chartered accountants, nothing else. Only CFOs, chartered accountants. This gang, which is all in their 25 to 35 bracket. Okay, I had the pleasure of working with some of these finest minds. These guys are CAs, rank holders, but also MBAs. If they are a CA right now, they want to do an MBA. Number one. Number two, none of them wanted to start with an accounting job. Not one of them. Most of them started with a strategy job, not an accounting job. Think about it. They're saying accounting is a given. I want a broader view. I want a broader view of business. They're doing very different roles compared to the traditional CFO who just kept doing accounting and more of accounting. So these are absolutely fabulous young people, men and women. In the first list, you saw only 2 women. In this list, you see many more. The male-dominated CFO cabin will see many more women CFOs in the future. That's my submission to you. Okay? So a broader understanding, CA plus MBA, not just one. Okay? More women, much more business-oriented, much less finance, planning, and accounting-oriented. Okay? So what's changing? In the past, the CFOs, everybody wanted a safe pair of hands. Everybody wanted them to support the CEO. Everybody wanted them to be the cost conscience keeper. Everybody wanted them to be the bridge to competition, to talk to competition on things, and no surprises. If there's one motto which ran for CFOs on their door, it was not their title, it said no surprise CFO. So the future CFOs are much broader in their skill set and focus. Strategy, deal activity, sustainability, technology, data analytics, ecosystem influencer, value creator, and challenge the CEOs. Very much broader. Okay. Today when I see CEO, CHRO, CFO job profiles, there are at least 3 of 5 which are common right now, believe it or not. 3 out of 5 are common between the 3 of them. Next slide, please. So, how do CFOs themselves see priorities of 2025, which is the next year? This is what the CFOs are saying. Lead the transformation effort in my company, 1/3 of the time. Improve finance function strategy and design, 5%. Improve financial metrics, 6% of the time. Lead change, 7% of the time. Optimize cost, 50% of the time. When you look at that, and when you look at all the data that I'm going to present after this, you'll recognize why that last one is wrong. Why that is only one element, it cannot be the lead element. And I'll show you with enough proof points that that view of the CFO needs to change. This is CFO view of his job. It needs to change, is my submission to you. Next slide, please. So what did I do? I WhatsApped a number of CEOs. I WhatsApped a number of CHROs and asked them, you tell me what are the top 3 qualities. Go back, please. You tell me what are the top 3 qualities you look for in a CFO. Okay, a ton of CEOs, India Global, ton of CHROs, India Global. Okay, first slide up. What do the CEOs want from his, CFO? Next slide, please. 1, rock solid on FP&A, manage internal and external risks. Number 1. Okay, remember, in the CFO list that didn't come. Number 2, strategic business partner, balance revenue and profit. Number 3, challenge the CEO. Number 4, think business model, include technology and digital in it. Number 5, external stakeholder management, specifically investors and banks. This is what CEOs want you to do. But what you want to do is more cost. There's something wrong. Think about it. I want you to step back and think about it. Okay? Next slide. What do CHROs look for when they hire or wanting to hire or working with the CFO? Number 1, stakeholder management, ESG and banks specifically. Number 2, clear risk identification and management. Number 3, value creation. Number 4, influence the organization. Number 5, tech and data future ready. 3 of these are common with what the CEOs want. Think about it. What the CFOs say for themselves is significantly different from what the CEOs are expecting and what the CHROs are expecting. So please get a reality check. Next slide, please. Sustainability is becoming extremely important. 2 years ago, we only had 10% of investors saying, talk to me about sustainability. Today, 80% of investors are saying, talk to me about sustainability. Believe it or not. In every single business. So if you look at, there are companies which are dedicating, like a balance sheet, special booklets only on sustainability. You will not get a premium if you do not do good on sustainability. I think that's a given right now. So this ship has sailed. If you are going to swim and get onto the ship, good luck. But you better parachute into it very, very quickly. Okay, this is becoming, especially in the Western world, in Japan, very, very significant. Question all of you will ask me, and rightly so, to say, Shiv, where is the premium on sustainability? The only premium we are seeing right now on sustainability is in Europe. We are not seeing so much sustainability premium anywhere else, but it will spread over a period of time, is my submission to you. Next slide, please. Okay. CFOs have to deal with 2 AIs, as I call it. AI in technology and AI type 2 is the activist investor. Activist investors are here to stay. Okay, a lot of people, when they talk of activist investors, we think it's only in America. We think it's somewhere else. It's happening in India. Many companies, their chairmen, their CEOs, their remuneration is being challenged right now. And more is going to happen, not less. More is going to happen. Please wake up to it. Here are the actual stats on activist investors. Next slide, please. 33% of companies face a 60% chance of being targeted by AI, activist investors. 40% of S&P companies have faced some AI issue, activist investor issue, since 2010. 69% of companies gave into at least one demand of the activist investor. 51% of activist investors asked for a change in CFO, CEO, and got it within 1 year. And finally, the number of cases targeted. In 2021, we had 173 cases. 2022, 235 cases. 2023, 229 cases of activist investors. 2024, first half, we already have 147. You multiply that, you'll have the highest number of activist investor cases in 2024 already of the last 5 years. So this is here to stay at your doorstep. And my simple advice to you, get friends with activist investors. They are not enemies. Get friends with them. You have to meet them halfway. You have to find common ground. Remember that. Okay? Next slide. So next question is, okay, I'm a CFO. Do I make it to the CEO role? Obvious question. I've reached the top of my craft in accounting, whatever you want to call it. Do CEOs make it from the CFO cadre? Question. All of you have this question. Let me give you the stats on that. Next slide, please. In 2024, 33% of current CEOs on the FTSE 100, which is UK, held a CFO role before this. Held a CFO role. That same number in 2019 was 21%. So obviously in the UK, you're seeing a lot more CFOs make it to CEO, which is good news for you. But you're working in India, not in UK, okay? You're working here. Next slide, please. Why is this the reason? Why are CFOs making it to CEO? One reason a number of people talk about is, as turbulence and ambiguity increase in the environment, most boards are looking for people who have managed risk, and that's what the CFO does best. That's why he's there. He does it best. They need a balancer between cost and growth, investment and efficiency. So that role and what they are looking for, a safe pair of hands, which is what I told you, is what the board is looking for. That's the reason in UK you're seeing a lot more of it. Only in UK. Next slide, please. Let's look at data from America. Completely different. The data from America is at variance with the data from UK. Let's go. Next slide, please. S&P 500, there are 4 routes to a CEO. And this is enough analysis done by Spencer Stewart. Enough analysis. 4 routes to CEO. The first route is the Chief Operating Officer. The second route is a divisional CEO who becomes a CEO. Third route is leapfrog. Somebody below the executive team, but is promoted over and made CEO. This happened with Jack Welch many years ago. And there are many cases like that. Go back, please. And fourth is the CFO. These are the 4 routes to CEO, which they found, by and large, explain about 90-95% of all CEO hiring. Okay? Next slide now. So, in 2000, CEOs accounted for 55% of CEO. Divisional CEO was 28%, leapfrog candidate 9%, CFOs were only 5%. Only 5% in 2000 of S&P companies surveyed were CFOs. 2010, 60, 22, 11, 3. Dropped. 2020, 39% were COOs before, 38% were divisional CEOs, 5% were leapfrog candidates, and 10% were CFOs. Picked up. Virtually doubled in the last 20 years. But here's a question, which is, which category creates the most value to a shareholder? Here's the divergence number. Let's go. Next slide, please. So if you look at who creates the most total shareholder return, CFO top quartile is just 8. Mid quartile is 61. Bottom quartile is 32. A third of CFOs, when they become CEO, drop into the bottom quartile in terms of their company performance. COO, 25, 49, 26. Divisional CEO, 27, 52, 20. The best in terms of shareholder return is the leapfrog candidate. 41, 33, 26. So here's the paradox. Somebody who was supposed to be a safe pair of hands, somebody who knew how to manage risk and ambiguance and tolerance. Please go back, oh God. Okay, that person is not able to deliver total shareholder return. The simple fact, when dug deep, is they play too safe. They play too safe. They don't push the boundaries in order to create value. Some food for thought for you, that when you become a CEO, you're still playing the role of a CFO. You're not playing the dynamic role of a CEO. That's the data. You can quibble about it, but that's the data. Next slide, please. Okay, let's look at India data. I've given you UK, I've given you America. Let's look at India data and what the challenge in India is. A very different challenge. And that's why I say the CFO is like an all-rounder. You need to do a number of things to be right. Next slide, please. So I did a very simple analysis. I took the BSE listed companies, 4,185, 4,815 of them. Revenue. How is the revenue split on the BSE right now? Go back. Up to 100 crores, 2,283 companies have a turnover of less than 100 crores, listed companies. So half the market is less than 100 crores revenue. 100 to 200 crores, 506. 200 to 500 crores, 580. 500 to 3,000 crores, 872. 3,000 to 10,000 crores, 350. More than 10,000 crores, 224. This is by revenue. Now, let's look at the split by EBITDA. Next slide, please. When I look at the split by EBITDA, suddenly 4,000 companies virtually have an EBITDA of less than 200 crores. Think about it. 4,000 companies out of 4,800 have an EBITDA of less than 200 crores. So up to 100 crores EBITDA, 3,361, 100 to 200 crores, 567, 200 to 500, 333, 500 to 3,000, 392, 3,000 to 10,000, 88, more than 10,000, 74. If you were to compare the two slides, you will come to your own conclusion. This presentation will be up at 11 o'clock on LinkedIn. You're free to comment on it, and you can draw your own conclusion, do your own maths. So, what's my inference for you? Go back. Next slide, please. My inference for you is, we have a lot of empty top-line growth in India. The role of the CFO is to create value. We are not creating value commensurate with our top line. I've given you all the data. You can slice it and dice it any way you want. But that's the lesson for us. Clear? Next slide, please. So I believe great CFOs are like eagles. They have vision. An eagle can see a target 3.2 kilometers away. An eagle has eyesight which is 4 to 6 times better than the human eyesight. The ability to have vision, ability to prey down on detail. Number one. Eagles are fearless. That's a quality which we require in CFOs. Eagles have tenacity. Another quality we require in CFOs. Eagles fly alone. They're not scared of flying alone. And finally, eagles nurture the young. These are the qualities I personally believe that we need to see more and more in CFOs. More and more. Okay? The eagle is a good metaphor for you. Next slide, please. So, in summary, my last slide, and I've taken my exact time. In summary, the future CFO as I see, number one, will be strategic and transformational. We'll do much broader things. Go back to what I talked to you about, the young people I see right now, all the rank holders. They're starting in strategy, they're not starting in accounting. Okay. Will be a master of two things of capital, use of capital and allocation of capital. Both are crucial. You have to use capital, conserve capital very well. You also have to allocate capital very well. You have to realize where your big bets are. Will be a master of stakeholder management, especially the activist investors. They are here to stay. Okay? They are at our gates and we need to manage them. And finally, the CFO of the future will harness technology, will embrace data, and seize opportunities and push the boundary. He will not be what the bottom quartile CFOs are. He will be a top quartile CFO when he becomes a CEO. Only if you do this embrace data, push the boundaries, will you get there? So I wish each and every one of you rapid promotion to your next role, which is CEO, as and when it happens. It was an absolute pleasure, Amol, to put this for you. Thank you very much for inviting me. And all the very best, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.